Hi folks, welcome to my humble homestead in the forest on this late July day, glorious late July day, and on this really special day, very special day for me. It was almost exactly to date, 11 years ago when we sold our city house, or a house in the city, after I don't know how many years of living in the city, how many decades, 4 decades of living in the city, not 4 decades of owning a house, but we sold it. We paid off our ridiculous mortgage and set out across the country, in fact, northern states, and back. So we went from mid Canada, or almost East Canada, not mid east, I guess you can say, all the way to the west coast, and way back. Now we're in the east coast of Canada, and that's where we found our place. But it was a long journey, driving there, driving back, researching, getting to know people, seeing different climates and topography, cost of things, cost of living, cost of land, cost of everything, before we found this place. And that was exactly almost 11 years ago. So many lessons to learn. So many lessons to learn. Let me put it this way. Woody, hey Woody, how'd you sleep last night? He'll come back. I remember. So I was saying, many movies have been made about this. When you live in the same city, even for however long, and you go from one neighborhood to another neighborhood, they used to have turf wars, and they used to have, this is my turf, this is my territory. But imagine going from one city to a whole other city, not even maybe next door city. But wait, it gets better. Imagine moving to another province or state. That's even farther away. That's different kinds of people, especially in Canada and States, where, well, I suppose Europe is the same too, but there could be different cultures. Different people from different countries have moved into different provinces and different states. Like, for instance, Canada, where I live in New Brunswick, is the only bilingual province. By bilingual, I mean French and Canadian, French and English. Whereas, there are many people that speak Spanish and many other languages, but the two official languages are French and English. Now, if you go to a province north of us, Quebec, they mostly primarily speak French. So 80% people speak French, and so they have their own French or whatever cultures. You go further west, you get more English. You go to Alberta, they could be more American like. But you know what I'm saying? That's it's all mixed, and so you have to. We were an immigrant once again. Even though we lived in many cities, many neighborhoods, many provinces, many countries, we were yet again new immigrants. And as new immigrants, I think you have to, and if you don't think you have to, you really should reconsider this. You really should try to fit in. This is your new home. You have to respect the new culture. You have to respect the new food. You have to respect the new way the way people do things in your new setting. Because if you don't, you're really encroaching, and other people that have come before you. Other countries where they've tried to do this thing, take over someone else's culture. It's happened in Africa, Middle East, in the States, and it's never worked. You really should try to fit in. You really try to do your best to respect their cultural sensitivity, or have cultural sensitivity. Integration is good. If you segregate yourself, then why should they accept you? And you're going to need people to come and do things for you, because you don't know where anything is, what to buy, when to buy. may not have all the skills. You may not be able to build your own house. You need people. You really need to. I can't stress this enough. Do not haggle with people over their prices, over their labor, whatever it is. You take them, even if you think they're ripping you off. You have to do it because there's more of them than there's you, and I've seen this happen here. We never haggled. We fed people when we were constructing this house. People. Listen to the difference to this. When new people would come to work for us, they said, we had heard, this is the locals, they said, I get goosebumps just talking about it. They said, we had heard that you're good people to work, you're good people to work for. Now imagine this versus people that go say, and they can do this, and they have done this. I've seen people call all around people, businesses, regular people trying to get people to do things for them, build a house, whatever, ground prep, anything, and people were just ignoring them and not doing it. You know how stressful that could be to move somewhere, and you're pressed for time because winter's coming or whatever, seasons are changing, and you're going nowhere, all because you decided to be arrogant, or you decided to be honest. And city folks do this, think this. They think they're better than country folks. They are not. Some of the most intelligent people, some of the most money-wise, some of the most political, some of the most outspoken. I mean, I can't stress this enough. People that I've met I'm 56 now, in all the places that I've lived, cities, provinces, and countries were from here, this country, living in the country. They know a lot more than you think. They're more alert, more aware. They're more financially wise. They're tougher physically, and I mean, mentally and spiritually. They're so much tougher than you think. You'll do well to learn from these folks, as we did. And I'm really appreciative of that. So try to integrate as much as you can. Don't overdo it, because, like I said, they're not stupid. They can smell bullshit from miles away, literally and metaphorically, because we're in the country. If you are planning on making a move to the country, or in particular here, you need to do an insane amount of research. So now I was ready to move here, to leave the city, about 20, 30 years ago, but it was never enough money, or there was never enough spiritually readiness. You have to do some soul searching too. The rest of your family has to be ready. There's so much to consider, but I would say this 11 years that I've been here, just actually living on the land, it's almost like getting a PhD. Way more surpassed any research that I had done on reading, web-based videos, whatever. So it's good. I think I know that I suppose you can't help it, but maybe all you have now is your books and your web-based knowledge. And if that's all you have, that's all you have. But remember, that is that's no substitute. You cannot substitute all that knowledge for actually living here. To give you an example, first and second time I went back to school, we had a lot of lectures. The first year biology, like 350, 400 people in a lecture hall. So you do a lot of lecture, but that's no substitute for everything that you read, in classes, than when you actually go to work at the working hospital in this case, or when you're actually seeing patients, or whatever it is. If you're a mechanic, when you're actually feeling the brakes that you're fixing, or the exhaust, or the engine, and the smell of it, and and how hard it is to open those nuts and bolts that are fused. Whatever it is, electrician, home builder. I've done not electrical work, but home building now. I've built, constructed before. Before I didn't know, I'm exaggerating, which end of the hammer to hold. But working alongside of my crew, building this construction, this main building, and then with my just one-on-one, just me and my carpenter building our gathering place, and then other structures that I did mostly on my own. My point is that there's the practical side of things that you need to be on the ground to do, and then there's what you read in the lectures and whatever you do at home. Two completely different things. You can't just have one and say, I'm ready, I'm going to go live in the country now, off the grid. Off the grid, that's a whole other segment. Living in the country with all the amenities, you're flushing toilets, your plumbing, your electrical work. You just turn on the switch and you got your power, you got your lights or whatever. You don't care what season it is or any of that. Is different than living off the grid. Living off the grid is what there's a spectrum. How far you want to take the living off the grid part. What I mean is how purist or how tough you are, how hard you want to take, how far you want to take it. And there's living off the grid like I do here. I have flushing toilets and it costs money. It costs money at the time, maybe just over 10,000, now maybe 30,000, and that's in this province. Go to another province, maybe neighboring provinces, other Atlantic provinces, could be $100,000 to install a septic tank and flushing toilets. That's just in addition to finding the right people to do it. That's totally different than just you having money to say, oh, I use my 100,000, go install me a nice septic field system. So alternative to that is to bucketing it. That means, just like it sounds, you do your business, you make your deposits in the bucket, and then once that bucket's full, just a regular 16-inch bucket, you take that into a designated area in the woods, you dump it, you cover it, and although you cover your bucket as you go, layer it with sawdust or whatever, so it doesn't stink as much, because it's not the poop that smells as much as you would think. It's the pee, it's the urine, that's the stinky part. But it does get mixed up. You go, if you're disgusted by what I'm telling you now, that's true off-grid living. You take it outside at night. The reason why you do your business, that's in the wintertime, because you can, and that's even harder. You have an outhouse that you go to some distance from the house because you don't want it close to your house. But in the winter, it's difficult to, especially in the colder climates when the snow's up to here. Actually, one of the reasons why I'm doing this video on this very bench, because look at my winter videos. I'm sitting on this bench and there's about 4 feet of snow behind me. So imagine having to trek 4 feet to your outhouse. Would the door open? How high is the snow up there? Can you sit? 11 years ago when we moved, we didn't have this house, so we were renting a cabin. It was like a hunting cabin, just basically a 1-bedroom cabin with very rough. When you hear someone say rough or rustic, it's not like what you see Hollywood rustic. It's a log cabin, there's a roaring fire, little thing, charming couch is here, and the wood paneling. That's not what rough and rustic is. True rough and rustic is no insulation, thin walls, drafty. Can you hear it? He'll come back again. Drafty, wet floors, moist. It could be mildewy, and so to go, and there we had like an addition that. It was an outhouse, but it was an indoor outhouse. So we didn't have to leave the cabin to go to the outhouse, but it was in the addition part that wasn't really heated. Sitting on that toilet seat at the time, that was actually, believe it or not, it was the coldest winter on record. Even the locals were talking about it. So there were many cold days. How cold? Well, that place, that attachment to that house, that area where it wasn't really heated, could be -20. So you're sitting down, you become fused to the toilet seat. It was cold. You would hold on as long as you could before you would run out there, make your deposit, and run back into the house, run back into the living quarters. So that's tough. These are all tough. That's if you want to be off grid. Same for when we first installed our solar assembly. We didn't know. 11 years ago, you might think, well, that wasn't that long ago. Or 10 years ago, actually. 10 years ago, that wasn't that long ago. Solar panels have been around, and the assembly's been around for a lot longer than that. But the thing is, where you go, in particular where we went, it was such a novelty that we were educating the electricians and the inspectors that would come in. If you're building a new structure over 650 square feet, in this case, even though we're in the middle of the woods, and even though our area and our province is a lot more lax in terms of getting licenses and permits and that to build, there's still some. It's not nothing. The permits and code was not put in place for nothing. There is a reason for them. How high your chimney has to be. I've seen so many mistakes other people have made, and still today, I'm driving home. I see somebody just bought some land, and they've carved themselves a little romantic little area the size of a woodshed that they're going to live in. Tall trees surrounding them. It only takes one tree to fall on you or on your house or whatever, and you're done. Your dream is over. You need to clear. You need to be how far? You need to be so far that if a tree falls, it won't even graze your house. Because with the size of the tree and the momentum it picks up, it can do a lot of damage. There's so many lessons to learn. So much I can talk about. I've actually written a book. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but on the subject of living here. So you actually have to, we're talking about off-grid. So solar assembly, the batteries weren't hooked up right. We spent $360 for each battery. We had 16 batteries. Panels, the wiring, what gauge you're wiring, what kind of a charge controller, inverter, and all of these things, quiet, loud, high performance, low performance, how much power they would use. There was so much to learn, folks. You need to, I give workshops to folks that would want to be off-gridders, so that they or you don't have to suffer like we did. Especially in the winter. When do people will build a house? In the summertime, when it's beautiful and sunny, and sitting here in your shorts and short sleeves and enjoying the great outdoors, and life is grand. Why didn't I move here 40 years ago? But that's not how life is on an average everyday life. Let me just be quiet, because I just want you to listen to the peacefulness of this setting too. Woody in the background. This isn't an AI generated video, folks. This is how quiet it is. Now, that's the other thing. How quiet you want it to be, how much money you want to spend, how far away you want to be from people and shopping and all that, will depend on you. For instance, we didn't want to be near folks, near city people, near noise, near pollution, near cities. Although New Brunswick is the size of Switzerland, but it only has like 800,000 inhabitants, whereas Switzerland has over 9 million inhabitants. And you can't live everywhere in Switzerland either, right? So still, we didn't want to be near people. We had lived near people, and the smallest, the least populated city we ever lived before here was, I think, 130,000 people, and 130,000 people in one city. Where I live now, we're 75 people here in our neighborhood on something like 1,000 acres. To give you an example of what 1,000 acres is, Vatican is 100 acres, and it's its own country. It has its own government, army, money. Do you know what I mean? Only 100, 1/10 the size. The neighborhood that you live in is probably on 100 acres with, I don't know how many thousands of people live there. So it was only, and when we moved here 11 years ago, there were only 25 of us on the same site. So land didn't grow. The number of people, the people are coming here from all over the place. Our all organic neighborhood is gaining, being noticed and heard of. And people are moving here slowly, but they're coming amongst what's happening in the rest of the world. But my point is, off-grid, so much to learn. That's a whole other element that you may not need to know or care about because you may not want to go off-grid. You don't have to go off-grid. You can live here and not be off the grid. Everything has a cost. Going off the grid is not cheap, has a cost. Not going off the grid has a cost, and is not cheap either. So you just have to decide what you can live with. We move with the nature. If we're able to do the laundry on a day because we're dependent on the sun, we do the laundry on that day. Vacuuming, same thing. What we're cooking, same thing. In the winter, the other way around. If the fire's roaring and hot, and that's when you do your biscuits and cookies because you need high heat and fast. You put it in, you take it out, and you have bread all day long if you want to. You have tea all day long if you want to because we have a wooden cook stove. Now, you may not want to have wood-fired cook stove. You may be worried about fire. You may be scared of fire. You may not be able to get insurance because of fire, or the insurance that you get might be too high because of wood-fired. So you might want to go with the more conventional methods of getting heating or cooling your house. The cost of that is different. It's all relative. And that is that, so you're dependent on the electricity that comes in for your heating and cooling. Or you might be dependent on a natural gas. There are no pipes that come here, but it would be in shape of propane tanks. You would be dependent on fossil fuels. You may not want to have fossil fuels because of environmental. Our solar panels are now carbon neutral, for instance. And if you decide to be dependent on someone delivering you big tanks of propane this height, or power being sent to your house with the flick of switch, that's all brilliant. But what happens if there's a hurricane? What happens if there's shortage? What happens if there's instability in the world? Although Canada's fairly stable, but never say never. Well, we're somewhat independent of all that. I live in the forest. Trees come down all the time. You might have seen some of my videos. That's our fuel source. The house right now is heated by our wood-fired cook stove. In the summertime, it's heated by, our power is by solar panels. So in that respect, we're independent from anything that can happen anywhere else. During the pandemic and COVID and all those things, we didn't even, for the first month or two, we didn't even know anything had happened. Because part of being off-grid, I don't listen to the radio or TV, or we don't have a TV, but I'm not on social media. I didn't even know any of this stuff was happening. Honestly, was oblivious to it. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm just talking as fast as I can just to tell you that this is the anniversary for us, 11 years of being here. If you're considering making a move, do all your research online or your web-based videos or whatever, but you need someone to hold your hand, like a teacher, like I didn't have, a guidance counselor like me, or I'm an off-grid coach now, to tell you at any time. Say you're making your baby steps. You're here or wherever, and you say, "Oh my gosh, something went wrong. What do I do now? What happens now?" You pick up the phone, or I'm not on the phone. I shouldn't say. I'm only an email away. You email me saying, "I've hit a roadblock. I've hit a hurdle. There's an injury. There's something stopped working here, or what do I need? What can I do?" And I tell you everything that I know, everything that I've gone through, if I've gone through it, or if I've heard other people, if it's happened to them, what I've learned. I try to learn as much as I can from other people's mistakes. I mean, there's some mistakes that you have to make for yourself. I don't enjoy doing it, but if I have to, I have to, and we all have to. But if I can avoid it, I can't. I would love to, and that's something that I would love to pass on to you or anyone else that's hoping to move to this sort of make an exchange to this sort of a lifestyle as opposed to the city ones. I'm just looking around, folks. I'm out all the time, and you can call it ADHD or whatever you want, but I'm hypersensitive to everything, every little tiny little flower or leaf or anything, and I'm looking around, even though I see it all the time because I don't work like you or someone outside the house, outside of where I live. So I'm here all the time. I'm still, everything's new. Day to day, things would be new, like flowers, the little, every little petal and pebble, everything. I love it. I love it all, and I see it all, and I notice it all, and I say all, but I'm sure I don't anywhere near all. But I'm talking to you, and I wasn't there yesterday. Anyway, the sage, everything's doing well. It's summertime. I hope you're doing well where you live, and maybe you don't even care. Maybe you're just enjoying. You're like a armchair pioneer, and you're enjoying seeing how I live. Vicariously, maybe through me, and there's nothing wrong with that too. Drop me a line anytime you can, and now is a busy season for me. Winters are quiet, but I will try to email back as much as I can, or if you leave a comment or reply to your comment, all those things. Yeah, I think I said everything I wanted to say, and I'll let you go and wish you all the best, and enjoy the rest of your summer. Namaste.